Kia ora koutou. Thank you to Petra and the Career Centre for having me. So as you introduced, my name's Christie and I'm a proud graduate of the Uni of Otago here. And just yesterday I was having lunch with some fellow board members and they said, oh wow, you've right on cue, you've had such an interesting career. So they said you should probably write it down and share it. You might be inspiring someone one day. So yeah, here I am. I'm a tired mum of 2 under 4s, so I'm going to be boring and read off my paper. But you're going to hear from some pretty accomplished individuals this evening. In fact, you already have. But I suppose my key theme isn't necessarily success in the traditional sense. It's about becoming a luminary on your own terms and how, when you choose your passions, they'll serve you for your entire career and beyond. So why I came to uni and what I majored in. So I'm a building compliance technician currently, and that's not really where I thought I'd end up when I graduated. I chose history, media and communications because they were really political, socio-economic and had people skills. But these subjects not only teach, but they show you how to learn. So I came from a really lower decile background, so the why in society was always really an important question for me. And of course I was told, that's just the way things are, it is what it is. And I used to think, how do we change anything if we don't know why? So these connections and ideologies and how we've been shaped by world events that kind of all connect us became my childhood hyperfixation. So I've always had an everlasting curiosity and a deep interest in the backgrounds of people from all walks of life. My dream was to be able to hold a meaningful conversation with anyone from any class, culture or profession, and to pivot into any path I wanted at any time, at any stage of life. So I kind of wanted to prove that no matter where you'd come from, education was the key to freedom for everyone. So I was naturally good at social studies and I could write an essay off the top of my head about the printing press and its legacy, but I couldn't drive a manual or build a house, so academia felt like a better fit than going to our sister school, Polytech. But this perceived impracticality of the humanities, I faced the classic judgment from everyone, so what job would you ever do with a BA? And the answer is absolutely everything. The humanities fills the space between essential and practical roles, so they're the glue that kind of holds it all together, I think. And when you study the humanities, you're often secretly important, so it might not always be obvious, but you'll make a ripple effect in any field. Most global leaders especially are teachers, historians and change makers, and they all began in the humanities. So the critical thinking skills I gained in history and communication, the constant how, why and what have really shaped my career. And I didn't want to be boxed into one job for life. I wanted flexibility to get me through every stage of life, and that's kind of exactly what I ended up with. So I think my career path really reflects this flexibility. I started as a hospital cleaner when I was 15, and that in itself I always held in high regard, knowing the unique role of sanitation. And beyond this, even after my history and comms degree, the sense of pride I felt in any job continues to kind of stay with me. The humanities teaches you the beginnings and the evolution of even the most minute subject, and everything has an important story and an important part to play. Every job is important, essentially. At 16, I worked in retail. 17, I became a hospital orderly. My dad was the support systems manager there, and I'll say this really proudly, that role was quite critical to my future. It was the perfect part-time job during uni, so if you're looking for flexible work while studying, definitely come and talk to me because it was perfect. And working in a hospital taught me about life and death, humanity, bureaucracy, high-pressure environments, compassion, and people from every walk of life. I stayed in that role for 10 years, and I essentially grew up, spent all my time there. Eventually I had my 2 beautiful sons, and not long after, unfortunately, my dad passed away, so I felt pushed to explore other sectors to live a varied life in his honour, and he'd told me that I was lucky enough to have obtained a degree, the first in my family, so to get out there and use it. So that kind of started my thinking, how can I do the most that I possibly can in one life while still being a really decent present mother? So I did papers on Victorian Britain in the 1883 Factory Act whilst here at uni, which sparked an interest in public health and safety. So that combined with my healthcare background led me to the public health school every year, and eventually I worked on health policies as well every year. And that interest in wellbeing in my frontline healthcare role also led me to trade union work. So I worked with Issue Union and collaborated on several Labour Party initiatives. I worked on several community campaigns, and this led me to getting a job offer in Wellington in Parliament with the Labour Party. But as life happens, I fell pregnant with my second son, and we couldn't afford to risk uprooting our lives. So we made the decision to stay here. And that really rocked my hopes, because it felt like my career and degree had been for nothing. But in hindsight, that was not the case at all. It was actually quite the opposite. It was not meant for me, and I was led to exactly where I'm meant to be now. So since this, it really made me passionate about making sure that the motherhood penalty didn't apply to me, and that I would make my degree work for me in motherhood no matter what I had to do. So I moved into employment support for neurodivergent and disabled communities, and I could really see how society and systems interacted, and I had lived and learned that context deeply through my degree. And this then led me to occupational health and safety, and then to a few years working in both corporate, not-for-profit environments and healthcare health and safety. And this tied in really beautifully with what I had done to date and became the rudder for where I am now. So over time, I realised I had a real interest in safety management systems and the building code, which sounds really boring, but it's actually really good. I enjoyed specified systems and compliance schedules and how the Building Act kind of encompasses and crosses over with my passions of health and safety, the Disability Act, fire and disaster codes. Obviously, this led to my current role in building compliance, which is actually quite important, to know how to get out and not burn in the case of a fire. So secretly important again. Now I get to merge my academic skills and my real world experience in a trades-based environment, so without actually having to be a tradesman. So at Aotea we work with safety systems and buildings to meet legal standards and ensure maintenance and remedy work is all carried out, but I also get to be a part of the usual business model and kind of expand my diplomacy with different departments and senior execs. So I get to do report writing, law, compliance schedules and research. They're still a big part of my job, but I also get to really flex my skills with the lads and climb ladders, fix the odd light, walk around and inspect buildings. So it's really the best of both worlds for me. It's really flexible as a mum, which is really what I wanted. And I specifically am contracted to do all the beautiful DCC sites, and I have a plethora of beautiful heritage buildings included in this, which works in well with my history degree. I interact with so many different buildings, so many different businesses, and every social interaction really is served by my degree, it really is. And in a unique way, my role, right at the beginning as an orderly, just eventually morphed into what I do now, except instead of hospital departments, it's different places around town. So alongside all this, I also do other projects, and I've kind of come full circle. I write grant applications for our local kindy. I've learned to make really strong financial arguments backed by social evidence, again using my degree to tell persuasive stories with a lot of impact. I now serve on a board that operates as a business and advocacy organisation for the disability community. So I was brought on for my health and safety expertise, but I now also use my humanities background in discussions on policy and social impact, and we're currently working on initiatives that merge the Disability Act and the Building Code. So also in a full circle moment, I'm also now a co-editor and historical writer for the National Council of Women of New Zealand. So yeah, I finally actually use my history and comms degree exactly as intended, albeit a few years later. So I guess my closing reflections would be that the thing is, what I've achieved isn't actually what I value the most. It's more the journey and the knowledge and the people, the experience, because after all, we're all just kind of walking each other home on a rock in the middle of space. So it all started with a BA, and that gave me the foundations of being a really decent company in doing so, I'd like to think. So I would say trust the timing of your life. It doesn't always come straight away, as exemplified through me. Life experience is just, if not more important too, so don't feel disappointed if your degree doesn't come into use immediately. sometimes it's better utilised when you're more mature, and you can actually embody your skills. So you only really know what you're talking about after some lived experience. So be patient and use your degree as a springboard. I've kind of jumped from opportunity to opportunity. I've climbed ladders, stepped sideways, backtracked. My last role I was a manager, but now I've gone back to having a manager for myself, and I've really found my own version of success and happiness through what I've done. And I guess another thing would be BA is so good for job interviews and essentially hopping from industry to industry. Job interviews don't scare me now, and they really shouldn't scare you either. I walk into them knowing that I bring value, and I quite often ask, what does your company offer that I don't already have in experience, and how can you expand my worldview and help me build on what I do to make a difference? So the humanities might not offer immediate stability in terms of a practical role, but it offers infinite opportunity, and especially as a mother, that's been a real lifeline for me. So ideas are really just vessels, and your degree is the door that they will knock on. So be open to that and take every opportunity that is presented to you. And no knowledge is wasted. History taught me how to learn and how to teach. It gave me a critical worldview, and it also taught me that I'm not alone, because throughout history someone has always felt what I've felt and survived what I've survived, and that's really powerful, almost having conversations with the past. Communication gave me media literacy, awareness of different perceptions, and the tools to share ideas creatively and persuasively. So these skills have paid dividends in every industry I've touched, because at the core, every job is about people. So I'm proud to say that I have some pretty rare, valuable skills where I am today, and I know how to sell them, which is really good in terms of my BA. And perhaps most importantly, history gave me emotional resilience and a lot of personal growth, and it taught me to value humanity and to also kind of find my own place in that. And as a mother, that's probably the greatest gift that my education gave me. So I guess to finish up, thanks for having me, and I hope that something in my journey encourages you to trust your path, even if it winds a little and it doesn't quite go the way that you wanted to. And success can be a lot of different things. It's not just climbing the ladder. So happy to connect afterwards, and all the best in the next chapter of your own futures.